On May 15th, 2025, the world changed overnight. Sirens blared in Tel Aviv. Explosions rocked Tehran. This was no border skirmish. It was open war. Years of shadow conflict erupted into daylight. The US, citing imminent nuclear threats, launched airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Natanz and Fordow, long under scrutiny, were hit hard. The American administration called it a preemptive strike to prevent catastrophe. But many questioned, was the threat real, or was this a manufactured crisis? Decades of mistrust, failed diplomacy, and collapsed nuclear deals had set the stage. Each side saw the other as the aggressor, every move fueling suspicion. The world now faced the consequences of a Cold War gone hot. Supporters hailed the US action as decisive. Critics called it reckless escalation. International inspectors hadn't been expelled. So why strike now? The truth was buried under political spin and classified intelligence. Ordinary people bore the brunt as leaders debated justification. The powder keg had finally exploded. The world held its breath. Iran's response was swift and overwhelming. Hundreds of missiles targeted Israel, overwhelming even its advanced defenses. Some broke through, striking cities and infrastructure, shattering any sense of safety. Israeli families rushed to shelters. Fear and chaos reigned. In Iran, US strikes fueled dread and a surge of nationalism. Israel retaliated, hitting Iranian military sites and escalating the violence. Each attack triggered a more destructive counterattack. The conflict spilled beyond military targets, threatening the entire region. Proxy forces like Hezbollah opened new fronts, stretching Israeli defenses thin. The war spiraled, no longer under anyone's control. Leaders who thought they could manage the conflict watched it grow beyond their grasp. The lines between proxy wars and direct conflict vanished in days. What began as targeted strikes became an all-out regional war. The logic of retaliation took over. The cost in human life mounted. The region teetered on the edge of catastrophe. The world's response was fractured and chaotic. At the UN, debate turned bitter. Words became weapons as real ones fell. Many nations condemned the US attack, calling for a ceasefire and warning of global fallout. They saw the war as Western overreach, punishing the world's poor with higher energy costs. In the US, the war sparked fierce protests and political division. Some rallied behind the president. Others accused him of dragging America into another endless conflict. Congress was split, reflecting a nation weary of war. European allies offered cautious support, but urged restraint, fearing refugees and economic shocks. NATO unity fractured as some nations criticized the escalation. The era of automatic transatlantic solidarity was over. The war exposed shifting alliances and self-interest. Global trade and stability hung in the balance. The world watched, divided and anxious. Old alliances strained under new realities. The crisis redefined the global order. In war, some always profit. Arms manufacturers saw their stocks soar as demand for weapons skyrocketed. For them, destruction meant booming business and government contracts. Political leaders used the crisis to rally support and distract from domestic troubles. In Iran, Israel, and the US, war unified fractured societies and silenced dissent. Regional rivals quietly welcomed Iran's weakened position, even as they feared instability. Extremist groups seized the chaos to regroup and recruit. The war empowered hawks and ideologues who had long pushed for confrontation. Diplomacy was swept aside by the brutal logic of force. The battlefield became the only arena that mattered. The greatest danger is escalation into a wider regional war. US troops in the region became targets for Iranian proxies. A major attack could trigger a massive American response, even a ground invasion. The conflict threatened to become a humanitarian catastrophe. Oil prices soared, global supply chains faltered, and ordinary people everywhere felt the pain. Trust was shattered. Peace seemed impossible. Each attack fueled the next, trapping both sides in a cycle of violence. Only a few benefited: arms dealers, extremists, and leaders seeking power. The world stood at the brink asking, can diplomacy prevail, or will war consume us all? The stakes had never been higher.